There is no coming back from what I'm about to tell you. I have never shared this before because I think I've been doing it for so long. I actually forgot about the fact that I deliberately and delusionally did the most powerful thing you can do to manifest anything you want into your reality. Like, you're going to be shooketh over this. And all I ask in trade for sharing this with you and the concrete evidence so that your brain goes, okay, like I know this absolutely is a worth it experiment. I know there's a great shot at this working for me because your brain is going to be in resistance to it. I just want you to share this episode with someone so that they can call into their lives what they want, whether that's growth in their business, whether that's money, whether that is having an abundant, genuine, beautiful circle of friends, whether it is that relationship that they've been longing for. This is the step by step plan of what you're going to do. And it's what. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. You know, I have to do a little tiff rant to start. How are we feeling about the accessory of like summer? I think, when did this start? I think it started in like 2020, 2021-ish. The belt bag, aka the fancier, more fashionable way to say fanny pack. Now, I was thrilled that this came back. I like being hands free. My fellow dog moms and dog dads, like, we like this. My fellow multitaskers, big fan. And I went all in. I got multiple colors of the Lululemon. I almost did some of the designer ones, but I didn't feel they held enough stuff. And then some influencer, someone did something to ruin all of it for all of us and decided it's no longer cool to wear it as a belt bag. That's not the vibe anymore. Now you have to wear it over your head and across your titties, and now that's the vibe. So when I'm walking up and down here on the Strand in Manhattan Beach, we call it the Strand. It's like what you would assume to be like a boardwalk in most places. It's miles and miles and miles of being able to walk on the ocean looking at multi-million dollar houses. It's incredible. Like, literally, you can walk for miles and miles and miles, and it like never ends. And that's one of the things I always encourage people to do who come to my 2-day in-person mastermind experience, which registration has officially opened right now today. You need to make sure you grab your spot. I know there's a lot of you who missed last year and you waited too long. There's a max of 30 spots. This is in person. We're going to be at an $80 million beach home. There's only so many of you crazy asses that we can take in the container and maintain the premier service and experience that you all deserve and that we pride ourselves on here at Project Me. So make sure you go and get all the details and you register at projectmewithtiffany.com/mastermind event. You can also swipe up. That link is right in the show notes. It's in the description here on YouTube. And already by the time of this recording, and this has been recorded days ago, 5 spots have already been claimed by private clients of mine. So they got first dibs. And then my posse members got second dibs. And then as long as you're on my VIP weekly digest, you got notified first. So this could be already half sold out at this point. I have no idea. You want to run and go here. You will walk away from this 2 days, not just getting filled with motivation and inspiration. That's nice, but that ain't going to cut it. Okay. That's not going to bring in the cash. We teach you literally income generating skills that you will be using for decades to come and cashing in on for decades to come. The testimonials speak for themselves. It's October 1st and 2nd. It's right here in the same city that I have my beach house, where you're going to be able to see this whole fanny pack thing in action. And you may have seen it if you've gone around your neighborhood for walks. You've been taking my abundance walks. By the way, my summer abundance walking meditation series is available right now for free for you guys. And that is also in the show notes. So for sure, you want to do that. Get your walk on, burn calories and manifest. Okay. Like take a hot babe walk and manifest some shit. So wearing this belt bag around my chest, first of all, like if you've got some, some sizable titties, this is not really a great look. Okay. It ends up looking bulkier. It's not comfortable, especially if you're like going for a walk. I've seen people jogging with it this way, especially when it's hot. Now you're going to get a strap tan from the damn thing. And these bitches down here are committed. They're all doing it. I am blown away. And I got to tell you, I refuse to do it. I'm wearing the belt bag. I'm wearing it as a belt. I'm not crossing it over. I don't care. And I know it's not as cute. I know it's not as trendy or whatever. I don't know who came up with this shit, but it's not approved by me. And I traipsed all around Europe wearing it around my waist. And I did not see one other person doing it except 80-year-old Chinese women, to be frank. So there you go. I don't care. And I want to know your thoughts on this. Drop in comments if you're watching on ProjectME TV on YouTube. I read and review as many of those as I can. You can always DM me on Instagram or TikTok. I'm at ProjectME with Tiffany. We've got to fix this. We were hands-free and now they've ruined it. Now they've made it cumbersome and I'm not here for it. So this is story time. And this is story time while I'm teaching you how to implement and apply to your own life exactly what I did to mind fuck myself into making millions of dollars with my content. And what I mean by content, let's first define that. Any form of content, right? So my podcast you're listening to right now, my emails, my videos, my pins on Pinterest, any form of content you can imagine that I have dove into. That's what I'm referring to, is making a crap ton of money, being able to be creative, being able to teach things that I already have a skill set for, a knowledge set for, being able to share my intellectual property, life lessons, favorite things, stuff that's worked for me, stuff that's not worked for me, stuff that's worked for clients, things that hasn't worked for clients, all the stuff that I already have in my wheelhouse, and then stuff I continue to learn and experience, making billions of dollars off it. And I'm laughing because it's so fun and it's actually very therapeutic at the same time. And I delight and learn and get motivated and get moved to tears and heal, and really have had a lot of profound moments from taking in other people's content. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. And why shouldn't you be able to make millions and millions of dollars off it if that's something you want? Maybe you're For whatever reason, the millions, that seems too wild and far-fetched to you. Fine. Why shouldn't you be able to make thousands of dollars off it a month? Like, there's people online making money literally eating crawfish with super long coffin nails, and people are paying. I just came across nun talk yesterday. Yes, like nuns. Like, nuns are getting on and making coin. I'm like, oh my God, that you really have no excuse at this point. But I still had to mind fuck my way there. If you are new to me, you haven't realized yet that I am not of sound mind. I am unwell in the mind. I have complex PTSD, depression, generalized anxiety disorder. And if you're not familiar with complex PTSD, it comes from people who've gone through severe trauma. And a lot of those symptoms mimic ADHD symptoms. So I know I have a lot of neurodivergent and ADHD people that listen to the show. So I just want to give you some context. I also operate because of how I grew up, which you have to go listen to my childhood money imprint 4-part series if you haven't, that I dropped a couple weeks ago. So then you can determine your imprint, because that's what's going to help you really implement what your asses are going to do from this episode. I can be a scaredy cat. I fall in like the feast or famine imprint category, where I have no backup plan. I do not have a rich uncle. I have one living relative. That's my mother, who is the primary abuser and a narcissist, and I'm no contact with her. I do not have literally any other family member. I don't have a rich husband. I never had a rich husband. It's always been on me. And I'm not saying that like, oh, pity party, but I want to make that clear, because that is part of what has made me kind of be like scared of risk. I can be overly calculating. Obviously, I've taken risks. I have 2 companies at this point, but I had to overthink and overanalyze myself there. So when I give you numbers of things when I'm working with you, whether it's in my in-person mastermind or you're a private client of mine or you're in my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership, the numbers that I give, the stuff we work on, I'm conservative. I don't inflate shit. Okay. In fact, I underestimate, because it's always better to kind of like underestimate and then allow the universe to delight you in the rest. This way, you're prepared for any worst case scenario, because I never want to see you guys like jammed up where you're like, I can't even pay a bill. Like, I'm not that person. I get it. Like, I get that you have bills to pay and how scary it can be to really want to go all in on your business or next level on your business, or even start something new, or even invest in a business. You are so reluctant and hold yourself back of things that you see other people doing, and you're like, I know I could do that. I might even be able to do it better, but you don't. And you keep yourself in that spot. And then you watch people who have done the things or been doing the things you've wanted to do, and they continue to grow and continue to grow. And it can be very triggering and frustrating for you. And I don't want to have you in that spot. It's not a fun spot to be in. It took me 10 years to start ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. I had the idea for that long. My first business was already in my wheelhouse. It was, and I still have it. It's a digital marketing and branding agency, specifically in the medical, health, supplement, pharmaceutical sector, working with a lot of doctors, medical equipment, vitamins, things like that. And the reason why I got into that is in my corporate career, I was in pharmaceuticals, right? So it was already in my wheelhouse. It was less of a risk, because I couldn't have jumped from corporate to doing something wildly different than what I already been trained on and had intellectual property on and proven success in. I was not willing to take that kind of a risk, because I had no fucking fallback plan. Like, I'm my own fallback plan. I had a mortgage, I had a car, I had a lifestyle that I built up that I liked, and I didn't want to trade it. So I've had that business for 16 years. It's now an 8-figure business. But going into that business, even, I don't know, it wasn't that many years in, I already had the vision for Project Me with Tiffany Carter. And then when people started podcasting, even early on, and I was binging these people's podcasts, a lot of them were healers, which I find remarkable because I coach a lot of healers and creatives. And I know a lot of you guys can be resistant to risk in a lot of areas. However, I feel the healing community really pioneered podcasting because it's a form of giving, it's a form of being of service. And all you guys are very service based and heart based. And thank God that they did that because I binged those. I knew I could do it. I'm a former TV newscaster, I'm a professionally trained journalist. I had the money to even start a podcast, but none of that mattered because my mind was fucking me out of not doing it. So your mind is either fucking you into getting you to do something or fucking you out of it. And yes, there's going to be a lot of F bombs in this episode. And if that's too much for you and you refuse to listen to that in order to get this literally life changing lesson and instructions, I find that interesting over letters that make up a word. Like, I think we'll all be okay. So I started going, how did I end up as being an on air TV news anchor before I even graduated college at 20 years old? That's wild. Like, I flew back to walk in my graduation. How did I do that? It wasn't just because I went to a top journalism and TV school. Shout out Emerson, Emerson Mafia. And it was because I knew for a fact, without a doubt, it was going to happen. Like, but did I really know it was going to happen? I mean, I know the odds are incredibly small at getting on TV in general and then getting on TV and news, right? There's a lot of factors. It's how you look, how you have to have the talent, how you sound. I already knew I was terrible at grammar, I was terrible at spelling. I don't pronounce a lot of words properly, and I was made fun of this all growing up. So I already knew all of that. But I asked myself the question, if I knew for a fact that this was here for me, what actions would I take? Right. So I went to school for it. I became fixated on it. I had tunnel vision for it. I kept showing up as if of course I'm going to get this job. Like I'm setting it up. It wasn't like, oh, I might get lucky. This might happen. That wouldn't have gotten me to send out. Now, back in the day, now this is some shit, some real shit. Okay. And some of you will really appreciate this. I had to, in order to even be considered, maybe hoping that a news director or station manager would look at my stuff. There wasn't Zoom, honey. Okay. There wasn't FaceTime. I had to send a tape, like a VHS tape. You could have sent a CD, but that was like more expensive technology, and I did not have that technology. So I was sending a VHS tape with a printed out resume, and then you had to label the tape, and that like the label, you remember like the labels on the VHS tapes? Some of you remember even the labels on like cassette tapes. It's like it was like a sticker. You had to have a nice fucking sticker and figure out how to do that. Like that was, that was some advanced shit back in the day, okay? And I had to send it FedEx. No one was going to look at your shit if you sent it snail mail. You could also hand drop it off, but that wasn't going to happen given the sheer number of news affiliates that you had to send your shit to in order to get considered. I had no connections. I did multiple internships, but those internships I did, those people did write me amazing references because let me tell you something. I wanted that intern game. Unpaid intern for anyone who's listening or who has kids that are whining about them not being paid in an internship. I mean, yes, she should at least be fed, I guess. But like, I was This was not paid. I got credits in school for it. That was my pay and being able to learn a bunch of stuff. So what happened is that they would write like, references and stuff, but I didn't have none of them because they were big stations like Los Angeles, Chicago, Boston. These are big markets. And by the time those newscasters and reporters and producers got there, they had already gone through all like the smaller market stations. Like no one hooked me up, is my point. Okay. I knew I didn't have a hookup. Some people have hookups in areas in their life, and I call it a leg up. But everyone has a leg up. You have a leg up. You might not have connections, but you have grit, right? Like I didn't have connections and I didn't have a sound mind, but I was tenacious and I was determined and I had grit. It wasn't that I outworked anybody. That's certainly not my vibe. So I think I'm not joking you, 80 to 100 of these. Think of, I mean, FedEx. Like, okay, now I didn't do like overnight air, but still, that shit was expensive. And obviously it worked. Obviously, I got the job. It worked out even better than I could have imagined. And there's one example of that story. Now, was I fully conscious of the fact that I was manifesting this? No, manifestation wasn't even a vibe. Was it a thing? I'm sure it was a thing. I was not made aware of that thing. I kind of was looking at it more of like a success mindset. Okay. Now, that is where I went back to when years were going by. All this time was going by so quickly. I mean, look at this. We're already halfway through this year. Half of 2024 is gone and we can't get it back. Time is not refundable and it seems to go so fast, especially when you're an adult. And that's why I do my 2-day in-person mastermind event at this particular time of year in the fall. Number one, it is early enough to where you can still cash in this year on everything that you're learning in there. Okay. Like it is designed for you to implement immediately and on the spot. You don't need more information and absorb more stuff. Information without you understanding how to custom tailor it to your unique self and your unique business to be able to apply it, to be able to execute it without burning out and without spinning out is bluntly, it's a fucking waste. That's why you don't see me running around attending all these rah rah events. I'm not saying it's not nice to get a boost. Some of you like going because you're extroverts and you want to network. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But there's a reason why this is a legitimate tax deduction. Look at it like you're coming to a luxury 2-day business symposium, learning from the best in the business. I have world renowned healers coming in as well because we're going to be working on your mindset, your money stories, the wounding that is holding you back from doing the things, the stuff that's contributing to your procrastination behaviors, your fear based behaviors, the stuff that is repelling your ideal clients subconsciously and you aren't even aware of it. We're doing that and the straight up strategy, like how to cash in on this content thing, literally on hand in person. And then what I did is I added a VIP upgrade option, and the price upgrade on this option is ridiculous, like unheard of. And I little bit am feeling like I undercharged on it, but we're still going to go with it. There's only 5 spots for that. And you get a full private power session, all based on what content to put out to get profits in your business with me and my entire creative team. And you get a private in-person healing session with my personal subconscious mindset and energy coach, where my podcast would not be top 5 in 57 countries if it wasn't for the work that I'm doing with her, Brenda Johnston. And she's going to be there and you get that too. So there's only 5 spots. Those are going to go really fast. I have no idea how many are in there. There's pay in full option, or I did decide I'm allowing for 2 payments because I know some of you need to pay on more than one credit card. Hands down, this will be the best investment that you've made, not just in your business, but in your monetary life, because you are learning concrete, undeniable income generating skills that not only you can apply to any type of business, but if you wanted to teach it to somebody, not like stealing my intellectual property teaching it, but like if you wanted to teach it and pass your business on to your kids someday, that's also an option. Like, anyway, you need to go to projectmewithtiffany.com/mastermind event. Again, that link is right inside of the show notes when you swipe up, and it's in the description on YouTube. Don't wait on that, and don't tell yourself the lie. Oh, I'm not far enough along. I'm not a multi. Just go read the damn page. Okay. Every single word on that page was written by me. I'm a Virgo. There's a frequently asked questions section. I covered every possible question that we've been asked over the years in there. Go read it. See how it feels to you. If your body's going, you need to do this, like this is it, this is a thing, then do it. Stop messing around. And my question to you, which is leading into how I mind fuck myself into making millions off my content, what actions would you take knowing without a doubt this was going to work, that you already had a universal contract? So this is what got me out of continuing to waste year after year wishing I had done it. Now everyone has a podcast. That's what I was saying in 2017. Okay. So a lot of you who are saying that now, well, I was saying that in 2017, and your ass would have said it then too. Everyone's on Instagram. Everyone. Okay. Like, who wants to listen to me? All the stuff that comes up for you guys. I had all the same stuff. And I said to myself, okay, I've got to go for this. This is ridiculous. I can't let any more time pass. This is insane. I will regret this. How would I show up for this, knowing that without a doubt, the millions are going to come? There's already a universal contract that's saying, hey, all the money, all the impact, all the things that you want from being able to monetize your gifts, passions, and talents online. And this is all here for you. It's all here. For a fact, it's here. And it might be dripped out to you. It might be released in bigger drops. It might be flooded to you at some point, but it's all here. You knowing you have, let's say, a $60 million contract that you have signed, that without a doubt, guaranteed you're getting the cash. What would you do every day? The cash isn't here yet. Okay. Maybe some of it is, but it's like, it's not all like sitting there. You have to trust that it's there. You have an agreement so that you know it's there. What actions would you take every day? What shit would you stop doing? What would you start doing? I'm pausing for a moment to drink my coffee because that is the multi-million dollar question. So I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, I know that there's no toe dipping. Toe dipping is the biggest waste of time, energy, and money. It's an all in play, and not all in for your brains that are now going, oh, all in. I don't want to have to work 80 hours a week. I never said that. I mean, you're all in. You are focused. You're determined. You have tunnel vision. It's happening. I'm signing the contract. The fucking ink is dry, kind of all in. So I'm going back to the beginning. I hired a web designer to do my website. I hired a photographer for pictures. I had almost no photos of myself because I was not someone who was on social media. Once in a while, you'd see like a buzzed selfie from me at Coachella. Like I didn't have all these different pictures. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I did not have one influencer friend, one podcaster friend, one person that had this business model. Any entrepreneurs that I knew, they had like a B2B business model. They were not monetizing their gifts, passions, and talents online. The people I knew were the people who went before me, and thank God for them. And I hope I'm that for you, right? Like I've paved this way, And my way is definitely very unique compared to a lot of people, but my way resonates with you in some way. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. There's someone out there where maybe it will. So I said, all right, I'm going to do that. That's scary, right? I hired a podcast editor because I knew I would continue to stall if I had to figure out technically, like technology, how to edit my podcast. Did I think I could probably figure it out with YouTube and stuff? Of course. But I was getting a rash and it was keeping me stuck and frozen. So I went on like Upwork and looked at reviews and found someone to edit the show and paid him to tell me what mic to get, even be on Zoom with me when I set it up, because I wanted to shave off time and I wanted someone just to tell me what in the fuck I need to do, because that's my personality. I've waited long enough. I don't want to waste any more time. I know if things get really complex, my brain short circuits and then I end up not doing anything. So I like people who, even if they have to tell me stuff that kind of stings, I'm willing to hear it versus someone who's placating me and enabling me and giving me some fluff. That's my coaching style. Like attracts like. Very likely that's why you're here with me now and you resonate with me, is because you don't want someone circle talking you. You don't want someone just to rah you. You want someone obviously to be kind and compassionate, but someone who's going to serve it to you straight, like, hey, you need to stop doing this on your videos. That's not working. Or the reason you don't have as many people buying as you'd like to think, or your courses aren't selling all through the night, or your email list isn't converting. I'm going to tell you this is the problem and this is how we need to shift it and actually teach it to you. Right? Versus someone going, oh, your energetics are off. Well, you just need to keep at it. You just need to give it more time. I'm not saying some of you have crazy expectations when it comes to time, but you can be at something for you really want to be walking in the wrong direction for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before someone goes, hey, that actually is the exact opposite direction you need to be going. No, I'd rather someone go, oh, you veered over here and I get why. Or whoever taught you that was very misinformed. You got to come over this way, or you have a choice. You could take this route, or this route. Which one feels better to you? And I'm happy to tell you, which route I recommend based on coaching you, based on understanding your business model, your personality, your limitations, your strengths, etc. Wouldn't you rather fucking have that? That's what we're doing in my 2-day mastermind. Okay. Like, you're going to get more accomplished in 2 days than you have all fucking year, which goes back to why I said that we're doing it. We do it in that fall period, that early fall period, because then you can heavily, heavily cash in, because the biggest time of year where the most money is exchanged online is September through February. It's made all year long, but like the hot time is that period. And I want you to be able to put things into action so that money, that clients, it's flowing and growing, so you don't feel like you've wasted your entire damn year. And you can make up for lost time. I absolutely believe that with the right people, with what we curate, you can make up for lost time, and you can also shave off a ton of time in terms of a learning curve, in terms of being able to reach your goals in your business. So I hired all the people. That was very scary. So it was costing me money. Literally, if you want to look at it like this, I was losing money. Every time I did a post, every time I did a podcast episode, I technically was burning money because I started a business in debt. Newsflash, every single business starts in debt. Brick and mortar businesses start in more debt, especially like hair salons, spas, restaurants. I mean, that's hotels, that's big money. That can take years to end up being back in the green from doing that. You're borrowing money from Pops. That's debt, sweetie. Even if you don't have to pay it back, it truly is debt, right? Like you're lucky, even if you're borrowing from yourself. I borrowed from myself, from the money from my other business, from money that I saved from being in my corporate job. I use that money to start Project Me. Some of you still are in corporate jobs and you're doing the side deal. Great. Look at your corporate job as an investor in your business. I have people who've come to me where they're miserable in their corporate jobs. I was like, then you need to go take, I call them a dumb job, not to be disrespectful. I mean, I used to work at Starbucks and I was a waitress too. And I was also a cocktail waitress in Boston. That was the most fun job, but the worst job. College kids don't tip, especially college frat guys. And that was a disaster. Anyway, so a job like that, a waitress, a waiter, a bartender, a barista, something that doesn't require like extreme mental bandwidth and like the corporate politics, but you're bringing in cash to pay your bills and invest in your business. So that's what I was doing. And what kept me showing up from episode 1 to where we're in the 600s now, 620 fucking 4 episodes in. Okay. Week after week after week, doing 2 episodes a week, where I was not a shower, honey. I was a grower. I mean, I did not get lucky out of the gate. Nothing like that occurred. I never had like, there's a lot of these people trying to like monetize off of teaching you content, teaching you TikTok, teaching you YouTube, teaching you podcasting because they got lucky, or they positioned themselves to be lucky and they went viral early on. And it can also be a fluke. It can also be timing. So how did I keep going week after week when nothing was popping off? I mean, I'm talking like 5 downloads. I'm talking 1 like if I was lucky on a post. And you guys come to me and like complain to me, "Oh, I only have 500 followers from an account that was started from scratch 5 weeks ago." It was like, "What? It took me months to get to that." Like wildness. And that was when there were fewer people even on the app. That was pre TikTok. Okay. Like your expectations are way off and wild because of all these fantasy marketers, which is what infuriates me about it. So I had to keep showing up knowing I had a contract. So I pretended, aka mindfuckery, I pretended that I was under contract by a major TV network, just like I was under contract as a TV newscaster. And I had to produce a show and I had to produce content to promote the show in order to be in compliance with that contract. Otherwise, I'd lose all my money and I'd lose my job and I'd be sued. And I acted accordingly. All sorts of shit went down during this time, right? Like there were deaths, I got sick, I had surgeries, personal drama, professional drama in my other business. I had an employee steal from me. I can go on and on. I showed up. How would you show up for a $60 million contract? You pick the dollar amount, okay? But for a $60 million contract, a contract with the universe, a contract with God, that's going to be there. And if you're not there, you lose all of it. It's all, and the truth is, it really is all sitting there for you. You can't tangibly see it. You don't have the physical piece of paper in front of you. This is called trust and faith. But this is also what requires the mind fuckery. So you can't be dependent on external validation for you to keep going. The more dependent you are on that, the less of it you're going to receive. You have to be dependent on your faith. You have to be dependent on your spirituality. You have to be dependent on your own knowing of yourself that you're showing up for this contract that you signed, that you agreed to for the greater good of all, between you and the universe, between you and the creator, between you and whomever, for you to keep showing up. And then, okay, then we started to get, some traction, of course, right before I felt like nothing was happening, right? Lots of prayers, lots of tears, lots of God, am I even supposed to be doing this? Am I completely delusional? Did I just like pump myself up to think I can do this, but I really can't do this because I was really wanting external validation? And it's like, no, I have this agreement. I have to keep going. Put a time duration on this agreement. I put a year on mine, and then we could re-sign after a year. Okay. And you're not allowed to put anything under 6 months. I really don't want you putting anything under a year. If you are not willing to sign a year contract in order to change your entire life, multi generations, and millions of other people's lives that benefit off of what you're doing, and you're not willing to give a year when you've wasted years of your life hyper fixating, analyzing, beating yourself up, being in self doubt, you've already wasted all that time and you're not willing to give a year, you're probably not a good fit to work with me on any level. Because I need to know you're in the game. I need to know that you've signed the contract. And if you're like, oh, I'm just going to toe dip, but I want all this in return, I'm just going to give a little boop here and a little boop there, and then we'll see if it works. I get it. You're wanting to play it really safe and making sure, but that would be like, I'm just going to go on a date with three people. Okay, I'm going to put myself out there. I'll go on a date with three people. And if one of them, and if none of them catch, then I'm never doing this again. It's like it's absurd sounding, right? It's like, well, then you're not, where's the faith in that? Then you're not really in it. Then you don't really want it. When you really want something, you're willing to put in the energetic work and the heart and the mental dance that you have to do and the determination and the grit in order to get it. A lot of you will fight to the end of earth for a friend, for a partner, for your kids, but you don't fight to the end of earth for yourself. And don't you think it's about fucking time? You know, Zero fucks given. I think it's time for you to step into that ZFG version of yourself, which is also part of the mind fuckery. What would the ZFG version of you do? I'm a baddie. I signed that contract. I'm miserable. It's not working. I don't have a choice. I signed the contract for a year. I have to show up regardless, and I need to get over myself and have a good attitude about it. I can vent. I can be upset. I need to get it together and I need to do it. I have to do it or I'll get fired. The contract will be null and void. Literally, what I said to myself over and over again. And you see the result. I share the receipts. There's even a highlight called receipts on my Instagram you can go look at. The receipts are undeniable. It's not because Tiffany has some secret sauce that you don't have. We all have our unique recipe. We all have our unique gifts, skills, passions, and talents and intellectual property. The difference is that I kept going and showing up regardless and was willing to invest time, energy, and money, knowing for a fact that I had this windfall that was just going to be released in divine timing that was waiting for me. How couldn't it be there? That's why I always say, you set yourself up and position yourself to learn the things and you show up regardless. There is no way you can't be successful. Like, literally, it's impossible if you set it up that way and manage your mind in that way. So as we go on and as Project Me with Tiffany Carter evolves and as it grows and it grows and to keep it growing, obviously I've been doing this for more than a year. We're at like 5 years now. So then even for year two, I signed another year contract. I didn't sign a 2-year deal. I still signed another year deal. That's what worked in my mind. Okay. Like at that time. Now you want to know what my deal is? Now I have a 3-year deal. Okay. And you would think, why do you only have a 3-year deal when you're already making millions of it? Because it's what I'm doing in exchange for that money. And I don't want to be so locked in where I don't have permission for myself to course correct or to pivot if I want. So I look at these contracts similar to what sports people get or endorsement contracts. you're rarely, I think there's only one or two contracts like of endorsements that were like life contracts. And then there's a lot of clauses in those, right? Like a lot of these sport contracts, some of them are a year, some of them are 3 years. A lot of TV deals, right, are similar. So I just followed that model that was already there that made sense. So since I knew there was more and more money here, it's being dripped, right? The universe is dripping it out, dripping it out, dripping it out in perfect divine timing for me and for you. So I want to go to the next level. Now you want an $80 million contract or whatever number you pick. Okay. Well, then what are you going to do knowing that that's there? And so then that's when I got the $15,000 a month beach house, something I always wanted. I thought that was wild. It still sounds strange, even me saying it, but the number's been normalized to me where I was like, I need to have my own content house. Why do I need to wait and like somehow have a content house with a bunch of people, which is very common now in Los Angeles, but most of them are like 19 and they all rent a mansion together and create content together. It's like, why can't I have my own content house and podcast studio in one of the most abundant beaches I've ever been in the world? I call this the ZFG beach here in Manhattan Beach, where my 2-day mastermind is at, because there is no way you will not have that feeling being here because you're also surrounded by people who had the same universal contract and who had to have step into that ZFG version of themselves in order to get here. You have athletes, you have celebrities, you have a lot of entrepreneurs, a ton of self-made people, and the energy is so contagious. So I did that. Then I invested in having like another coach in another area of my life. Now I recently invested in having a concierge doctor to really refine things when it comes to my overall hormones, my gut health, all this other stuff because hey, I signed this contract. The Tiffany that got me to where I'm at now is not the same version of me that's going to get me to the next level. I've got to further refine and finesse myself. I've got to be more in the game, right? The person that a particular athlete was who won the first gold medal to win the second gold medal, that's not the same version of them who won the first. Okay? The dude who got a Super Bowl the first time to get a Super Bowl a second time or a third time, different iterations, different levels of evolving and growth are required for you to replicate that. But aren't you willing to do it when you're being paid to play? Borrow from these people. You don't think for a second these Olympic athletes they're not just motivated by winning the gold and what that means. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean a lot. Don't think for a second they're not excited by all the endorsements they're going to get, the career, the speaking opportunities, and obviously now in this day and age, all the opportunities they can get from being a social media influencer and through content marketing. Don't think on their hard days that does not come up, right? Just like when you see high school students who are really wanting to get full ride scholarships at colleges for sports, don't think for a second when they're having a rough time or all their friends are partying and they're fucking running sprints that they're not going, and being reminded of by their coaches on what the payoff's going to be. Are you willing to do this for the payoff? And the payoff is inevitable. And some of you are going, well, there's no guarantees in life. You're right. You could be dead. You could be dead. If you've lost anyone suddenly, you know that you could be dead. So you're right. There are no guarantees in life, but I have to tell you, when you set it up this way, the odds are so much in your favor that it would be next to near impossible for you to not have success. So what are you willing to do? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? Are you willing to take out a loan? Are you willing to bet money on yourself? Are you willing to move some things around in your life or set boundaries so that you can carve out a slice of energy and time to dedicate to doing this thing? Are you willing to leave a career behind that You've kind of attached your identity to it. Are you willing to upset people in your family or friend circle by doing something wildly different? Are you willing to feel like a fool and like you look stupid and people to judge you by going online and people talking behind your back? Are you willing to palate 1 to 3% of the haters who make up shit about you, who comment on your body in order to help the other 97% of absolutely beautiful people? Are you willing to fumble where everyone can see you? And it's so freaking embarrassing and then get back up again? Would you be willing to do that knowing that there's a $60 million contract? And if you say money doesn't motivate me, I always laugh when someone says that to me. Well, I'm not motivated by money. Well, are you motivated by being able to do whatever you want, when you want, and exactly how you want? Well, yeah, of course. Well, it requires fucking money to do that. Are you motivated by being able to make sure everyone you love has the best of the best access to healthcare, food, medicine, surgery, education, and experiences? Well, yeah, of course. Well, it takes fucking money to do that. You have a childhood money wound that needs to be worked on if you say things like that. And you don't have to want to have millions of dollars. I'm giving you an example of what's in my contract, and I pull examples from sports figures, from actors, even from news anchors who have like deals at, the Today Show, influencers who have deals with certain brands, models. I'm borrowing from that. And I got to tell you, you can be really bored and go through all of my content. There's not a miss there. I've only taken one short hiatus from my podcast in this whole time, and that was specifically so that I knew I needed to pull back the arrow and have a, so to speak, refresh of the show, which I did. I needed to have like that comeback of next level ZFG Tiffany, right? And maybe that's what you need to do is a short, not months long, not the whole fucking summer. Don't tell yourself that. But maybe you need a pullback. Maybe you need a regroup to recommit. Maybe you need to be a free agent for a little while. Okay. And you're a free agent for a couple of weeks before you pick your exact contract and the terms of that contract and the clauses in that contract. But don't be putting clauses in there that your ego wants of, oh, if I feel it's too hard, I can quit. Oh, if my husband is tired of me investing money and not seeing results fast enough, I'm going to quit. Oh, if, I just don't have the energy for it, I'm going to quit. That's not going to cut it. And you wouldn't quit if you had a $60 million contract on the line. If you were tired, I'm tired a lot of fucking times. Okay. But you can still show up for the things you want to do when you're tired. You don't think these athletes are fucking tired? You best believe they're tired. We're all tired. I don't care what job you have. I don't care how much you're paid. We're all tired. But if you really want what you say you want, you've got to be willing to show up regardless for the thing and do stuff that you wouldn't do if you didn't think it was going to work out. Otherwise, you're just toe dipping. And that's why I tell you guys, coming to that 2 day event, I don't need to go this hard on this to sell tickets. Okay. There's only 30 spots and 5 of them were already sold before me even mentioning it publicly today. I'm telling you this because if I created what I wish I had that would have sent me on a trajectory on a freaking rocket ship, I created and designed what I wish I had early on in my business, or at any phase of my business where I wanted to expand into next level growth. There's nothing like this. And it's very dangerous to rely on self will. So, are you willing to mind fuck yourself into making millions of dollars? You've already spent a lot of time mind fucking yourself, including gaslighting in yourself, to stay stuck, to make less than you deserve, to overgive, to be in a rut, to be in the feast or famine. You've already spent years and years doing that. Don't you think you owe it to yourself to mindfuck yourself in the contrary? We already know the mindfuckery works in the reverse. How about you do it and you mindfuck yourself to fast forward? I've given you a lot of evidence. There's a lot of evidence of guests that are on this podcast, but you have to be able to make that contract. Pass this episode along, swipe up to get the details for the 2-day in-person mastermind experience. You can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/mastermind event. And remember, you want to take those summer abundance walks and really sink into this thing. Maybe that'll help you develop this contract. Then my free gift to you is going to projectmewithtiffany.com/summer abundance. It is also in the show notes, in the description on YouTube, and in my link in bio on TikTok and on Instagram at Project Me with Tiffany. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.